In 1912, a ship was marketed as practically unsinkable. It sank anyway, in under 3 hours. Here's the real chain connecting that night to the safety rules every ship in the world still follows. The Titanic was built by the White Star Line to be the largest, most luxurious ocean liner ever launched, and the press ran with the unsinkable claim before it ever left port. British lifeboat regulations at the time were badly outdated. They set the required number of lifeboats based on a ship's registered tonnage, a rule written decades earlier, before ships this size even existed. Under that outdated formula, the Titanic technically exceeded the legal minimum, while still only carrying enough lifeboats for about half of the people it could actually hold. On the day of the disaster, other ships in the area sent multiple wireless warnings about ice ahead. Some reached the bridge. The ship's speed was not reduced. Just before midnight on April 14, 1912, the Titanic struck an iceberg along its starboard side, tearing open several compartments below the waterline at once. Many officers and passengers didn't initially believe the ship could sink. That belief slowed the order to evacuate, costing precious time in the first critical minutes. The lifeboat loading itself was chaotic. The crew had never run a real evacuation drill, and no one was fully certain how many people the lowering davits could safely hold. As a result, several lifeboats were lowered only partially full, leaving empty seats in the water while people were still trapped on a sinking ship. Roughly 1,500 of the more than 2,200 people aboard died. The ship had carried lifeboats for only about 1,178 of them. A nearby ship, the Californian, was likely close enough to help. But its wireless operator had gone to bed for the night and never heard the distress calls at all. The Titanic's own wireless operators kept transmitting distress signals for as long as they possibly could, even as the ship listed further and further beneath them. The RMS Carpathia picked up the distress call, changed course immediately, and raced through the same ice field to reach the lifeboats hours later. News reached the world within days, and a furious public demanded to know exactly how a ship this advanced could lose that many people to a single iceberg. The U.S. Senate opened a formal inquiry almost immediately, one of the fastest government investigations of its era, questioning surviving officers and crew directly. Britain's own Board of Trade launched a parallel inquiry, an awkward position given that its own outdated lifeboat rules were now under direct scrutiny. Both investigations reached the same core conclusion. The lifeboat shortage, not the iceberg itself, was the single most preventable cause of the death toll. In late 1913, representatives of the world's major maritime nations convened in London for the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. The treaty that came out of it, known as SOLAS, set a rule that sounds obvious now. Every ship must carry lifeboat capacity for every single person aboard, full stop. It also mandated regular lifeboat drills, so a crew would never again be figuring out how the equipment worked in the middle of an actual emergency. And it required a continuous 24-hour wireless watch on passenger ships, closing exactly the gap that had kept the Californian silent that night. Separately, the disaster led directly to the creation of the International Ice Patrol, a dedicated task force to track iceberg danger across the North Atlantic shipping lanes. The Ice Patrol has operated every single iceberg season since 1914, pausing only during the 2 world wars, and it still tracks ice for ships crossing that same ocean today. SOLAS itself never really went away. It was revised again and again in 1929, 1948, 1960, and a major 1974 version that is still legally in force right now. That 1974 treaty is the legal backbone that nearly every passenger ship and cargo vessel on the planet still operates under today, whether anyone aboard realizes it or not. The mandatory safety drill every cruise ship runs before leaving port, passengers gathering at their assigned stations with life jackets on, exists because of this exact chain of events. So does the continuous distress monitoring built into every modern ship's radio and satellite communication system, standing watch around the clock every single day. A ship that was supposed to be unsinkable ended up rewriting the rules for every ship that came after it, simply by proving exactly how it could fail. Follow Forgotten Record for more real chains history.